Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the really fascinating cellular science of aging, metabolic health, and the surprisingly transformative power of walking before you even touch your breakfast. You know, if you're over 50, you've probably been told a million times that a morning walk is good for you. But the actual timing of that walk? Well, it could literally change how your cells age. We're going to bypass the generic fitness advice today and look directly at the biological mechanisms like insulin sensitivity and BDNF production that instantly kick into gear when you lace up your shoes on an empty stomach.
Okay, let's dive into this. Why exactly is walking after you eat considered a metabolic mistake? Well, if you eat first and then go for a walk, you are completely missing out on the most powerful fat-burning window of your entire day. Here's why. When you eat, your body rapidly fills up your muscles and liver with glycogen. Glycogen is essentially just surface-level fuel. So when you walk right after a meal, your body takes the easy way out. It simply burns off that surface-level glycogen. But when you walk fasted, especially as your metabolism kind of starts to slow down with age, those surface stores are already depleted. This literally forces your body to dive deep into stored fat reserves instead.
And honestly, just how much of a difference does this timing make? Well, think about this number for a second. 33. Researchers at the University of Bath actually published findings showing that people who walked before breakfast burned up to 33% more fat than those who walked after eating. Now, 33% is absolutely not a rounding error. If you're over 50, your body simply can't afford to waste metabolic opportunities like that. This is quite literally the difference between just spinning your wheels and actually moving the needle on your metabolic health.
So we're going to break down the 5 most powerful benefits of fasted walking for the aging body, counting down from 5 to 1. Starting us off at number 5, fixing sticky insulin doors. Dramatically resetting your insulin sensitivity almost overnight is a real game changer. It can literally add years of independence to your life. To understand why, think of insulin like a delivery truck driver. His one job is to drop off packages of glucose right at the doors of your muscle cells for energy. But as we get older, those cell doors, they start getting kind of sticky. They just don't open as easily. So the driver keeps knocking, your pancreas keeps sending out more trucks, and eventually you end up with this massive inflammatory traffic jam of insulin just sitting in your bloodstream.
And that traffic jam is exactly what we call insulin resistance. It's when your cells flat out ignore insulin, causing your blood sugar and your belly fat to rise. So how does fasted walking fix those sticky doors? Well, when you haven't eaten for about 10 to 12 hours, your insulin levels are at their absolute lowest point. Walking in this specific state triggers a cellular energy sensor in your body known as AMPK. This is where the biology gets super cool. The combination of low energy from fasting plus the actual muscle contraction from walking triggers an alternate metabolic pathway. It literally forces glucose into the muscle without even needing insulin at all. Research shows this can improve insulin sensitivity by up to 25%. Oh, and here's a pro-synergy tip for you. Drinking a simple cup of plain green tea about 20 minutes before your walk can actually amplify this insulin sensitivity by an extra 15% thanks to its unique antioxidant compounds.
Moving right along to benefit number 4, fertilizer for your brain. Fasted walking triggers an absolute flood of brain-protecting hormones that actively fight off cognitive decline. The star player here is BDNF, which stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. You can think of it quite literally as fertilizer for your brain cells. It promotes the growth of brand new neural connections and furiously protects your existing memory. Our source material highlights an amazing story about a patient named Margaret. She's a 71-year-old who is experiencing some frustrating memory lapses and word retrieval issues. After sticking to an 18-month fasted walking protocol, we're talking just 30 minutes of walking before breakfast, her score on a standardized cognitive assessment jumped up by an astounding 22 points. She literally felt like herself again. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why Margaret experienced such incredible results. It comes down to one staggering metric. Doing aerobic exercise in a fasted state increases your BDNF levels by up to 200% compared to doing the exact same exercise after you've eaten. I mean, wow, right? That is a transformational surge in brain fertilizer. To really maximize this biological advantage, try getting that walk done outdoors in the morning sunlight. Getting natural light in that crucial first hour after sunrise triggers serotonin production, which perfectly synergizes with this BDNF surge to optimally preserve your cognitive health.
Let's look at benefit number 3, spring cleaning your muscles.
Now, aging brings along this invisible threat called sarcopenia, which is basically the age-related loss of muscle mass. Muscle is your body's primary metabolic furnace, so losing it leads to a whole cascade of health issues. Fasted walking directly combats this by activating something called autophagy. Think of autophagy as your body's ultimate cellular spring cleaning process. Because you're in a fasted state, your body is essentially forced to dismantle damaged, dysfunctional cell components and completely recycle them into fresh raw materials for building healthy new muscle tissue. But here's the absolutely critical biological trigger. Eating stops autophagy dead in its tracks. The second you consume calories, your body shifts away from cleaning mode and goes right into storing mode. That is exactly why being in a fasted state is absolutely mandatory if you want this specific benefit.
And the muscle benefits are incredibly profound when we specifically look at growth hormone. A fasted walk actually results in a 300% greater growth hormone response compared to a fed walk. So why does this happen? Well, biologically speaking, insulin and growth hormone are completely antagonistic. When your insulin goes up, like right after you eat a piece of toast for breakfast, growth hormone is violently suppressed. But because your blood sugar is low and your insulin is pretty much flatlined during a fasted walk, your pituitary gland gets the green light to release a massive surge of growth hormone without any interference. This is absolutely essential for muscle maintenance and repair in aging bodies.
To take full advantage of this, you really need to understand the anabolic window. Step 1 is simple. Take your 30 to 45-minute fasted walk. Step 2 is the crucial synergy tip. You want to consume 30 to 40 grams of high-quality protein within 45 minutes of finishing that walk. Whether that's some eggs, maybe some Greek yogurt, or a quick protein shake, doing this perfectly primes your muscles to absorb those amino acids for repair and growth right when they desperately need it most.
Getting close to the top spot now. Benefit number 2, melting deep belly fat.
This one directly addresses a deeply frustrating issue for so many of us, stubborn midsection weight. But we aren't just talking about the fat you can pinch right beneath the skin. We are talking about visceral fat. This is the deep, hormonally active fat that physically wraps around your abdominal organs. And worse, it actively releases inflammatory chemicals that drive heart disease and diabetes. When you walk fasted, your liver's glycogen stores start running really low. This triggers a specific, incredible mechanism called hepatic fat oxidation. Essentially, because insulin, which is your primary storage hormone, is low, a release valve opens up. Your liver actually starts breaking down this dangerous visceral fat and sending it straight to your muscles to be burned up as fuel.
The real-world impact of this mechanism is truly staggering. Just look at Robert, a 68-year-old guy who decided to implement a daily 35-minute fasted walking routine. In just 6 months, he went from a 44-inch waist with high inflammation all the way down to a 39-inch waist, reducing his dangerous visceral fat by 17%. That is a massive medical victory. And if you want to supercharge this fat oxidation process, our source suggests a great trick. Consume 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar diluted in a big glass of water right before your walk. The acetic acid in the vinegar has been shown to enhance fat oxidation during moderate exercise by about 18%.
And finally, we've reached benefit number 1. Upgrading your cellular engines.
So, the crucial point is what fundamentally changes the aging body the most out of all of this. It is, without a doubt, upgrading your cellular engines. Deep inside almost every single cell in your body, you have these tiny structures called mitochondria. Think of them like microscopic furnaces. They take in fuel, either glucose from carbs or fatty acids from fat, and they produce your energy. The cool thing is, mitochondria are highly adaptable. When you walk fasted, you actually train these little furnaces to prefer fat as their primary fuel source. And fat-burning mitochondria are much cleaner-burning engines. They produce way less inflammatory exhaust and generate far more stable, long-lasting energy for you throughout the day.
And honestly, here is the absolute wildest part. This metabolic reprogramming doesn't just stop the second you untie your shoes. Research from the incredibly prestigious Salk Institute shows that a single bout of fasted modern-intensity exercise creates changes in your mitochondrial gene expression that persist for up to 24 hours. This creates what biologists call mitochondrial flexibility. That's the ability of your body to effortlessly switch back and forth between burning carbs and fat, which is the absolute hallmark of a youthful metabolism. One single morning walk basically flips a switch that keeps your body preferentially burning fat straight through breakfast, lunch, and the rest of your day. Now, as we age past 70, we naturally lose up to 35% of our mitochondria. That's what leads to so much fatigue and accelerated aging. But clinical trials show that older adults who commit to regular fasted aerobic exercise trigger a process called mitochondrial biogenesis. They literally grow brand new, young cellular engines to replace the old dying ones. This can increase their overall mitochondrial density by up to 45% over just a 12-week period. That means more mitochondria, dramatically more energy, less systemic inflammation, and a radically upgraded cellular engine across the board.
So, to put this all into practice, you can actually tailor your walk depending on what your primary goal is. If you're going for brain health, aim for about 30 minutes specifically in the morning sunlight. If muscle preservation is your focus, try to hit some varying terrain, maybe some hills, and definitely get that post-walk protein in. For visceral fat loss, shoot for 30 to 50 minutes at a comfortable zone 2 pace, and maybe try that apple cider vinegar trick beforehand. But honestly, the ultimate synergy tip for overall longevity and metabolism, combine your fasted walks with a 13-hour time-restricted eating window. So for instance, you'd finish your dinner by 7 p.m. and then hold off on having breakfast until after an 8 a.m. walk the next day. These two simple strategies amplify each other exponentially.
Which brings us to our final question for you today. What will your metabolism look like 90 days from now? The scientific literature here is completely unambiguous. Your body retains a remarkable, profound capacity to heal, to adapt, and to improve at absolutely any age. A morning walk is completely free. It's simple, and it's available to nearly everyone. So, knowing what you know now about your cells, your brain, and your biological engines, are you ready to lace up those shoes tomorrow morning?